Did you ever write any specific one or song that's dedicated to the city kind of thing?
I mean, my whole last album is about the Robert Taylor homes on the South Side.
Hello and welcome to Chiaspora, the show where we interview those who left Chicago, but Chicago never left them. Today we have an awesome guest, buddy of mine, worked together before. This is Open Mike Eagle. You will know him from a lot of things. So he's a rapper. He's definitely from the Chi. He has a show on Comedy Central. Now, it's funny. Every time I have to say this, I'm sure it's intentionally awkward for white dudes like me, but it's called The New Negroes. It's awesome.
It's fine. You can say it.
But it's weird. When I first got it, I was like, I know when they thought of this, so like, it's going to be awkward for some people to have to say.
You know, I didn't really realize until like we were kind of deep in the development process. Like, oh, people have trouble.
It's
with this word.
Well, we had trouble because we don't want to offend.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. It's just, I guess it's all about context, right?
It is, and if you haven't seen the show, it's amazing. It's a mixture of stand-up, comedy, sketches, and music videos.
Yep.
And it's like a perfect mix. And you have celebrity guests, you have all sorts of stuff, and it's not at all like it has a political and kind of like social awareness to it.
For sure.
But it's not like hitting home hard like I don't know how else to describe it.
Well, it's not. We're not preachy.
Right. You're not preachy. No, it's fun.
But everybody has their own perspectives, and like all perspectives are welcome, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you just watch it, I mean, you have a very funny one that I recently saw, which was it was a couple months ago, but with Lizzo, where it reminded me a lot of the sketch from Chappelle's show.
Yeah. What was it? Love Contract?
The Love Contract. But this one was called
Extra Consent.
Extra Consent. But it's the idea of like basically, all right, before we get it going, you got to sign some contract and paperwork, which is hilarious. And she did a great job.
No, she's amazing.
I was actually at the Laker game.
Oh, you were at that one?
Yes, with my son. Who's
how old's your son?
Oh, he's 2.5, so he didn't know.
But
I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, I'm looking at the Jumbotron or whatever you call it, and I was like, well, I didn't expect that, but this is Los Angeles, so there you go.
Yeah, that's.
In case anyone didn't know and they're under a rock.
I'd love to have a conversation with her about that. I really would.
So yeah, you shot your stuff before you even saw her.
Oh no, we met a long time ago.
Yeah.
We met. Oh my goodness. I toured with her in the past.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like years. I've known her for years.
That's
man.
awesome.
Like, she used to be like underground.
I'll be honest. I was like a little shocked that she had to put out like that Laker game. I was.
I tell you, I've been pretty much riding with everything, but that's the first thing I was like, huh.
I didn't know if it was a PR move or what it was, because she was sitting front row, and she, as soon as she was on the Chiron, the lower third showed that it was her, and it was her song that was playing, so she's singing and dancing to it, and then she did her little twirl, and we saw a lot of behind.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought for a second, I was like, maybe that was a press thing. I mean, maybe it's just her having fun.
Well, I think what happens nowadays is that if you're an artist, almost everything you do is somewhat provocative. Like, that's the way you win.
I don't know. I've never seen you with your pants down.
Well, I'm not sure that I want that kind of attention.
Right, but it's the idea of like putting yourself out. I mean,
yeah, it's the same reason why I would drive here to do this.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's not so much like, it's not so much like this is a provocative thing, but like
that's getting your stuff out there.
As an artist, everything you do is to kind of like bring more attention to your art in one way or another.
For sure.
And it's just like everybody has a line of like what they'll do and what they won't do. And that's the thing is, if you know Lizzo, if you follow Lizzo's Instagram, like, it is not out of character for her to twerk or wear little clothes, but
at a Laker game,
that was, I'm telling you, that was the first time I was like, huh.
But we're talking about it now. So
we are.
That's the thing. But we're here to talk about Chicago.
Sure.
And it's funny, when I first started talking to you originally, you and I have very similar backgrounds, at least from being in Chicago, and then you went downstate for school. But I went to U of I, and you went to Carbondale, right?
Yeah, Southern Illinois, yeah.
But you grew up on the South Side.
Yeah.
What school did you go to?
You mean elementary?
Both.
Okay, so the first school I went to was Dumas, but that was just for kindergarten. And then I went to Drake from 1st through half of 5th. And then I went to Bell on the north side from 5th to 8th.
So you had to travel.
Yeah. It was what was it called? I mean,
Was it like a magnet school? Or
yeah,
something?
like a magnet program
Got it.
inside of a neighborhood school on the north side. So they had part neighborhood, and then they used to bus kids in for the magnet program.
Gotcha. Was it just because you had good scores, or what happened?
Yeah, I was pretty good. I was a pretty smart kid. Like,
You could tell lyrically you're okay, but I was just curious of like when did it start like perpetuating like okay, this kid can write, you were into the arts, and
I'm not sure anybody had me pegged for an artist when I was a kid. I was like really book smart. Like, I think people thought I was going to be like a scientist or something, something very academic. Because I really excelled in school early on. Like, I was just really good at retention, really good at analysis, and really good at taking tests. So like Bell was school, you had to get in taking a test, and I like murdered that test. And they had I did, and it was like they were trying to put me in U of C lab school.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that test and killed it, but I didn't want to go because I didn't really understand. Like, they would take me to take tests, and I didn't even understand like
what am I doing
what was
here?
happening.
Yeah.
I thought it was just something you had to do for school. And I would go and murder this test, and then like they were like, "Okay, you're going to this school." I'm like, "No, I'm not going to this school now."
Yeah, you didn't even realize that what you were doing is going to change the course of your future. That's so funny.
Yeah, and because I really liked the school I was at. Now when I look back, I realize it was a terrible school. It was a school like in the middle of the projects, like, and they had very well-meaning teachers, but it was underfunded, and there was just a lot of things distracting the teachers from being able to deliver like the best education. We had a kid when I was in 3rd grade. There was this kid sitting in the back of the class. I think he was kind of new. He'd only been there like a couple weeks, and we're all doing some kind of lesson, and you just hear this crash in the back, and you turn and look, and the kid has just completely, like, I guess he was leaning back in his chair, and he just passed out, and like hit his head against the wall, and was like laid out on the floor. They took him to the hospital. It's a 3rd grader. He had his system was flush with cocaine.
Oh God!
Completely flush with cocaine. So we never saw him again. And in the whole 3rd grade, the whole rest of that week, instead of normal education, we were doing like drug awareness.
Oh, God.
Every day.
But see I think that sucks. It's crappy for everybody. But yeah,
it was crazy.
But then you went to you said Bell.
Yeah, Alexander Graham.
And
Bell.
then what did you do for high school?
I went to Whitney Young.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I went to Von Steuben.
Okay. Yeah.
So obviously Whitney Young. Well, eventually you're a couple years older than me, but Northside Prep became like part of that, and there was like were you around when Peyton became Peyton?
No, I don't know what Peyton is.
Oh, it's Walter Payton School.
Where is that?
It's it's downtown. It's like Wells, and it's like not too far from like Second City and all that stuff.
Okay, I think I heard about that later.
But yeah. So that was all later than that. But Whitney Young was a great school.
Yeah.
In case anyone doesn't know. And so did you start gravitating towards doing music? And was comedy always? I mean, I feel like lyrically you have some darker stuff, but a lot of stuff is funny.
Yeah.
I guess is that how you meshed the two in high school? Was it there?
Well, kind of. Like when I started rapping at this place called Promontory Point on the south side. It's a park district. It's on 55th and the lakefront. It's a lighthouse that has this like banquet hall in it where they would do community programs.
Okay.
And so there was this official city-sponsored hip-hop program that was technically a breakdancing class that you could come through for free Tuesdays and Thursdays. But because the people I was hanging around were all into all the hip-hop arts, it ended up becoming a place where you went to freestyle. So people went to practice DJing because they would, people would be literally breakdancing to breakbeats. Graffiti artists would come to share graffiti books and sit and draw together. It was just like this giant magnet for, people into hip-hop and the performing arts of hip-hop. And so I would be there ciphering, and part of our freestyling was like trying to entertain each other with the most outlandish punchline we could think of. And so those did tend to kind of lean comedic. And when we battled each other, it was to try to get everybody to laugh at the guy you were rapping against. So there was a comedy element to it.
But this is all freestyle. You weren't writing this.
No, I didn't write. I started freestyling when I was like 16. I didn't record a song until I was like 21.
Wow, that's actually kind of for nowadays with social media and everything like that. It seems like late almost.
Yeah, very. Very late. My whole everything about me in rap, except for when I started actually rapping, but like the whole career part of it, recording part of it, all very late.
Huh.
You know, I grew up in the hood, so hip hop was just like all around. Hip hop was just like enmeshed into everyday life. So like, okay, it was like, okay, cool, hip hop. Like, you know what I mean? Everything was hip hop. So, I used to watch a lot of like MTV.
Yeah, me too.
And listen to a lot of like alternative radio too. I listened to like XRT and Q101.
Sure. Oh, you were all over.
Yeah,
Like there was all of it.
The Loop. What was it? 97.9.
Yeah, and there's that.
Just listen to all the rock stations. Because musically, I always like music, and you know, like I like chord progressions and I like melody. And that stuff is in rap, but especially at that time in rap, like in the late 80s and the early 90s, a lot of it was like chopped up and rearranged and,
Sure.
and repurposed. But I like listening to songs. So I like, you know, I like the stuff my grandparents played, like the Beatles and you know, James Taylor and all the stuff they used to listen to, Nat King Cole. But in the modern sense, just as much as I enjoyed rap, and sometimes if not more, I liked rock music a lot.
That's interesting.
Just musically, it was really interesting to me. And so I'd watch 120 Minutes on MTV. It was every Sunday night. I think they would have like 2 hours of whatever was going on in like alternative and college rock at the time. And then alternative was getting big in terms of like grunge.
Yeah.
So they had this brand new show to call like Alternative Nation that was like every day for an hour in the afternoon. And I really liked grunge and that stuff a lot.
Were you like the only kid out of that group that liked this stuff?
Yeah, I used to get clowned, really. And it's funny, I clown more when I went to Bell.
On the north side?
Yeah, I got clowned more.
That's weird. Why?
Because at that time, like, it was cool to be hip-hop. And even for, like, these well-to-do...
What year is this, 95?
Oh, gosh, no. When I was
Early.
when I was at Bell, this was like... Man, let's see, I'm in 5th grade. I'm like 12. It's like 91, 92.
Okay.
So, like, MC Hammer was big. Like,
MC
huge.
yeah.
But, like, that wasn't what kids were into. I'm trying to remember what kids were really into. Like, Naughty by Nature.
Yeah. That's right.
NWA, you know.
Got it.
Dre was big. Like, first wave Dre solo
Yeah,
stuff was huge. You know, Nothing But a G Thing, Dre
of
Day,
course.
like that kind of stuff was real big. Early Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Well, Bone Thugs for me was my 95.
Okay, but
Listen,
that was when
that's when they got
East
huge.
1999,
Well,
the
that-
second album came out. But I was on the north side. It was mostly white kids, you know. But
they were joking around
They
the
were
fact
well.
that you, like-
They were well to do, and they were very concerned with, and they were dictating what was cool. And what was cool was wearing baggy clothes.
Well, MC Hammer made that happen.
Yeah, but I'm trying to like it wasn't Hammer though, but it was, you know, it was the imagery. It was like the street hip hop imagery. And it was like the first era of like white kids really like leaning into that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like, you know, they'd ask me what was in my Walkman and I'd say King Missile. You know what I mean? And they'd be like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?" You know, and it was funny too because when I first got to that school in the middle of 5th grade, there were a lot of kids who were into like hair metal. You know,
It was
from
just
older
passing
brother,
out,
older
yeah.
sisters influence, like the kids that were into like Metallica and Megadeth and Poison.
Yeah, like Sister Hazel or whatever. Yeah.
But then that changed, and all of those kids got into rap. And I was like, I still kind of followed the line into like the grunge era, you know what I mean, and the alternative. I was really into that stuff. So yeah, it was weird. It was like a weird cultural juxtaposition thing happening.
You were on the south side doing art stuff, but on the north side was just school, or did you hang out on the north side to do other things too? Like I was just kind of curious what
your
you're.
school bus a lot of times, and
Gotcha.
if not on the school bus, then I was on like the city bus. I'd take it from my grandparents would drop me off on like 35th and Western, I think, and I just take the Western bus all the way north into like Wrigleyville.
It's like an hour and a half
It's
drive.
a long way.
So today wasn't too bad. Today was just another.
Well, except that the bus driver was driving in, so I could be listening to, you know, and
Right.
playing whatever, you know.
But your hangouts, like when
But the
you were-
hangouts were high school.
Got it.
Because I didn't do much hanging out when I was in elementary.
Sure.
You know, like honestly, I was a latchkey kid. I lived in a really terrible neighborhood. So and I lived in a building. I lived with my grandparents in a building where it was mostly people's grandparents. And it was a high rise. There was a ton of people living in this building, but they're mostly old people.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other kids in this building were also kids who lived with their grandparents. There were maybe like 7, 8 kids in this building that had like 12 apartments on each of 12 floors.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably 6, 7 kids tops at this place. And none of our grandparents really allowed us to hang out because the neighborhood was so shitty. So occasionally on weekends,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we'd go play at the little playground in the building's square. There would be this little play area. Most of the time we were all just inside.
Wow.
Playing video games and watching TV and shit, you know.
But that's in grammar school. For the most part.
Yeah. In high school, you know, and I'm, you know, taking trains and all that, and I got free reign. I could pretty much do whatever I wanted, and so, you know, I'd be hanging out. That's when the point happened, Promontory Point. So that's hanging out in Hyde Park, hanging out downtown a lot, like North Pier, Navy Pier, Water Tower. You know, where we go like
with your friends,
mall shenanigans and shit.
Yeah.
Ford City.
Oh yeah,
on the Southwest Side,
yeah.
Evergreen Plaza, like all of those places. Like when it was time for shenanigans, we'd go hit the mall and shit.
What's your food hangout?
Well, I feel like we used to eat in Hyde Park, but I can't remember where. We used to eat a lot of goddamn McDonald's and shit.
Yeah, of course. Well, we're in high school. That's what you do. That's where you hang out.
And then there was, you know, around high school, like there were actually a few places around. There was a place called Moe's we used to eat at a lot. That was right down there where Whitney Young was.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember.
Did you have an open campus? We did it for high school, so.
What does that mean again?
It's
that you could leave?
Yeah, you could leave.
Yeah, we could leave. We could leave for lunch.
Okay.
Yeah. But that you know, got me in all kind of trouble.
Oh, well.
'Cause
getting back and.
Remember how I was talking about how good of a student I was?
Yeah.
High school, that went
not so much?
shit. Because,
but the tests were still good?
yeah. So
okay,
everything
so always
went
a good test
south
taker.
for me when, in 5th grade, that first time a teacher gave me homework on the weekend.
Oh, and you were like, forget this. I don't want to do this.
It wasn't forget this, but like I was so diligent about doing my homework every day when I got home. But like when you got a whole weekend's worth of homework and you got home on Friday and didn't have to do it immediately,
Sure.
I was fucked. Because then I'm trying to do everything at like 7 o'clock on Sunday.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I'm just half doing shit or rushing through it.
Sure.
And that was really the beginning of like my student performance becoming like very mediocre, because I would still do great on the tests, but I wouldn't do all the reading, I wouldn't do all the homework, and so I settled in kind of like a C+, B- kind of average.
What about your folks? They were just like, what the hell? Or because Whitney Young's a good school, so
Yeah.
I'm sure they were like, come on, pick it up.
Okay, so now we got to get into family talk.
Okay.
Raised by my grandparents, but when I'm in 8th grade, my grandmother dies.
Sorry to hear that.
And then grandpa kind of like wants to move on and do his own thing, because he wasn't really blood related to us. We didn't find out this till later. It's like guy who raised us, his grandfather was just a guy grandmother had married before we were born. He was fucking awesome, but after she passed away, he
didn't want to deal with the baggage. He
kind of wanted to move on with his own life.
I mean, that sucks.
But you know, I now I totally get it, and it wasn't like he did anything negative.
No, but I'm saying as a kid, it's
Yeah.
like, what? I thought you were,
Right.
we were in this together kind of thing.
But it was also our choice. Like me and my sister, we wanted to go live with my mom. My mom had a troubled life, which is why we were with our grandparents in the first place. But she seemed relatively stable at that point. And she wanted us to come live with her, and we wanted to come live with her.
How old are you at this point?
13.
Okay.
So for high school, I'm living with my mom. And needless to say, the oversight is very different at that point.
I understand.
So, so my mediocrity is not really like observed
No, I understand.
in any like.
She was just
real
happy
way.
you're going to school.
Yeah, and I
got it.
did go to school. I loved going to school. Now, when I got to school and it being open campus, I didn't always go to class.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'd
You
leave.
took advantage of that.
Right. I'd have 5th period lunch, but I'd leave for 4th period lunch and not come back till 7th period. You know what I mean? Like.
So would you say high school was more of like a fun social aspect of it?
Yeah. My social life truly was born in high school.
Wow.
Yeah. My social self, even.
See, for me, high school, I hated high school.
Yeah.
Hated high school because I was a good student and I didn't like the monotony of going to the same stuff every day. We had an open campus and I enjoyed, hung out with my friends and stuff, but it wasn't. it just wasn't what I wanted. College was like fun for me, at least for the beginning. So I'm curious. So you go to Whitney Young.
Yeah.
You have this fun social aspect of it, but you're also kind of dabbling in music stuff on the side. Were you doing comedy stuff too?
No, never.
It was all music based.
All rap. Well, it was rapping and breakdancing and doing graffiti.
So you can break dance too.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I mean, not
now
well
anymore.
now,
Yeah,
right.
things have changed.
Right, exactly.
But still, that's something you were doing.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you go into college. So I want to know how. So you decided to go to Carbondale because you wanted to stay close, or how did you?
I decided to go to Carbondale because they took me in my bum grades, and because I didn't really good on the ACT, and you know,
just
an SIU recruiter showed up to Whitney Young and was like interviewing people, and he loved my ACT scores and was like, "Oh, we're gonna give you some money." I'm like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go there," and they didn't give me anything, but like, you know, just
the idea somebody wanted you.
I wanted. I felt wanted,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And then I did this program called Future Scholars, which is like you go down to SIU this summer before you actually start, and you take a couple classes.
Oh, that's cool.
And they're kind of easy. So
It's just fun to get away. You get to.
Look,
I'm sure.
you start with a 4.0.
Yeah, there you
You
go.
get 2 A's in these classes. You start with an official fucking 4.0.
That's awesome. And I'm sure that probably helped motivate. Like, hey, let me try to keep that up at least.
I tried.
Oh, I jumped too fast.
Right. By the middle of sophomore year, because I kicked it hard in college. I kicked it hard, man. Like, oh my gosh. Like, I thought I was having fun in high school.
It's the freedom.
Goodness.
And Carbondale, just like Champaign, it's its own like little city. Like, there's nothing else. You have your school, and there is an oversight is just like
Zero.
who's around you. That's about it. Like your
Zero,
friends.
yeah.
But you went there, and did you? Your sister, older or younger?
Younger.
Did she also go to their school there?
No, she went to Purdue, I think. Either that or I think it was Purdue she went to.
How many years separate you guys?
She is 2 years younger than me.
Okay, so it wasn't. So you guys could have gone to school at the same time.
Right.
Gotcha. How was? Did she ever like kind of notice like, hey, my brother's like doing cool stuff. I want to hang with him and do what he's doing, or that wasn't like that. She had
Well,
her own
in
people?
high school, she noticed, and she used to love hanging around me and my friends, like, cause mom wouldn't be home a lot, and so me and my friends would be over the crib breakdancing, like, you know, and just being hip hop and, you know, having fun, and she used to like being around that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then she goes to Purdue. You go to Carbondale. You do your 4. You graduate in 4.
I dragged it out.
Gotcha.
So I did it 5, because I was only doing like 12 hours a semester, like the
Gotcha.
bare ass minimum I could do.
But basically hanging out, having fun.
Yeah,
and
I
going
mean,
to
I
school.
almost flunked out. From starting with my 4.0, but in the middle of sophomore year, I was on academic probation and was one post-dated withdrawal away from being kicked out. But I was also homeless that semester because of financial aid issues with my parents doing the paperwork.
Your friends let you like couch surf, or how did
Yeah,
that work? Got it.
couch surfed that whole semester.
Yeah, see that. Yeah, finance stuff is tough. If,
Yeah.
well, at college too, because you like, did you have to have a job and stuff like that too while you're doing
I
that?
always had a job all through college. I had every not.
Well,
every
tell me some weird jobs you had to have.
I worked at the campus car wash, and I was the only.
There's a
employee.
campus car. I've never heard
for
of such
all
a
of
thing.
the campus vehicles, all of the
like
police
the school,
cars
the school.
and the lawn care vehicles. Every vehicle had
Wow.
to be washed.
Okay.
and I was the only person working there.
Wow.
And I didn't have a driver's license, so.
Did you bus it? Did you Greyhound it? Like, how did you get to school from like during breaks and stuff?
I usually either rode with other people or I just would stay.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I had to have, you know, one of these grizzled old town guys who worked in the facility, because it was also like the mechanic facility for these places, and the car wash was inside of this too. I used to have one of them pull a car around for me like every couple of hours, and they used to get so fucking annoyed. I worked in the cafeteria for like 3 years. Did every job in the cafeteria you could do. I worked in the chemistry lab, pulling chemicals for people. What else did I do? Oh, I worked during summers. I worked in that crew of people who cleaned every dorm room, like top to bottom. I was like scrubbing blinds and shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
You did a lot of grunt work.
Yeah, I did. I did. But that was time that I'd spend in headphones fucking listening to whatever music and letting my fucking mind float, you know?
So funny. So no one, not even in college, someone said, like, look, this kid, he's working all this grunt job and whatever else, his grades or whatever, but...
Well, this is what ended up happening. Part of what ended up happening. Because I ended up at a crossroads when I finished college. So I was a psychology major. There's this organization on campus called the Black Undergraduate Psychology Society, which ended up joining and then later being the president of. And that connected to this national organization called the Association of Black Psychologists, of which there were a couple professors on campus who were members of. And there were these conferences every year for this organization where they would get together and kind of discuss just what black psychology meant. And it involved all of these things, the social awareness and,
Sure.
and racism and social injustice and all of these different things. And I excelled in these classes on campus. And I had professors who would look at my writing and papers and be like, yo.
Yeah, exactly. Where you been?
Yeah, like
Right.
you need to do this, and this, and this, and this. So the way my whole life was going to be laid out, when I originally moved to LA, I was going to be here for 1 year, basically getting ready to take the GRE and do grad school. And I was going to meet my mentor professor who had left SIU and gone to Mizzou. I was going to join his program there.
So right after graduation, you were going to move to LA, or was there a break in
Well,
between?
So when I graduated, I just didn't know what the fuck to do.
Well, yeah,
So-
like most kids, it's not
Right.
that's not like anything new for people.
But what I wanted to do was this thing called music therapy, because I loved music. I was a psychology student. I'm like, this exists. This is perfect.
Yeah.
In trying to apply to music therapy programs, I learned very quickly, way too late, that you had to have a music theory background to enter into these programs. So I'm just like, fuck, what do I do? So I ended up doing a year of grad school at SIU in this program that you didn't need to take any tests to get into. It was called Workforce Education. And basically you enter this program to learn how to be an HR person. And I did that for a year and ended up like the summer between my first and second years, and I was killing it. Because I really had, after that some semester I almost flunked out, it really just clicked with me how easy it was to do well in college. Like I learned that if I just made sure I did all the homework, just did it.
Right.
And it might not kind of and went to class every day and did all the homework. And I'm not saying like bring my best self to class.
No,
or give
it's
my
just show
best
up.
self to the homework.
It's showing up.
If I show up every time,
Yeah.
and I do every assignment, that combined with like my natural test taking skills, I'm gonna get an A in every class. And so like I ended up from flunking out, I ended up getting my GPA up to like a 3.5 or something.
Good for you, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, it worked out. So I turned it around, and so I was killing it in this workforce education program. I had like a 3.75, but I hated it because one thing I didn't understand about grad school is how intense it is.
Well, it's also compressed. It's like you just gotta like get as much as you can as fast as you
Exactly.
can.
So it's like you're in class every evening for like 3 hours.
Right. You're working with groups and doing paper.
And
all
if you
sorts of
don't care about
stuff. Right.
the subject,
That's what they say about-
fucking worst.
That's what people say about law school. Like you just look left and right, and somebody's going to be gone in like a semester. So it's intense.
So the next summer, I was supposed to come back and finish this year. I took a loan out for summer school. When I got my refund check, I bought a car and just drove to LA.
Oh, so right away.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be here for a year, and I'm gonna get ready to do grad school proper, GRE, take it. Don't do this stupid ass workforce education shit. And join this mentor professor and just be a psychologist.
And he's in LA. He was in LA.
No, he was in Missouri.
Oh, in Missouri.
My dad lives in LA.
Oh, okay.
So I was just like, I'll just be out there working, getting ready to do, and I can crash with him. So that was the plan.
Got it.
And I'm still here.
Yeah. It's just,
15 years later.
there you go.
I'm still here.
That's awesome.
And that's, like I said, it was a crossroads because that was the plan. But when I got out here, I think in the back of my head, I was like, man, the music business is out there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Like, do I have to go back?
Right. And I guess in the back of my head there was this thing like, man, I wonder what it would be like if I actually tried to do music. Like actually like tried to have a career.
Did you ever have that in the back of your mind when you were in Chicago? Like, I think this is something I want to do. Was there never like a moment?
Not really, because the performing arts of hip hop were close and accessible.
Sure.
The business of it seemed like another planet.
Well,
in Chicago.
Athletes, like I always understood, because you could play sports, get noticed in your schools, and like, you know, in Whitney Young they had players, and Von Steuben they had players, and it was like you just watched them excel.
Right.
Music, entertainment, acting, it just
there's
didn't.
no recruiting.
Right. You kind of just have to leap. So that's kind of what you did.
Yeah, I mean,
once you were there, once you were in LA.
You know, part of the narrative that reinforced that while I'm in Chicago was that, like, I look at somebody like Common, who was Common Sense at the time. Like, he grew up and did his thing blocks away from me.
Oh. Did you ever see him when you were younger?
Not like in any kind of like accessible context. Like, I was working in the store, he came in one time.
Got it.
Oh shit, it's Common. You know what I mean? Like, and I went to a show of his, the Metro, my first concert.
What year was that?
Oh gosh, it was 96 or 97.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you saw Common there. That was your first?
My first concert, yeah.
So then later on in life, did you ever get to meet him?
No, I've never like met him in any kind of official capacity, because it's funny because my career track has always been kind of like close to his, but he's always like in the next 3 stratospheres high. Like, I'm dabbling in TV, he's like winning Oscars and shit, right. You know what I mean? But it's, you know, I brought him up to say, you know, me being a kid from his hood, like, it did not escape my attention that for him to get on and like be doing stuff with like De La Soul and Kanye and all these, well, not Kanye, but like that he had to go to New York. He had to leave.
Right.
You know, like everybody who we paid attention to, there was no music business in Chicago at the time. It's different now. Like, cause Chance the Rapper and you know, there's a different sort of business.
Is there a business?
Yeah. I think they made it so you don't have to leave now.
Wow. Really?
They really changed it.
But does Chance live out here?
I think he lives in Chicago. I think.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I mean, a lot of these guys bounce back a lot. I mean,
I do. I think if he doesn't still, I know he did for a long time, and him and like Saba, you know, they really made it so you don't have to leave.
It's really. That's interesting.
Well,
you know, Juice WRLD, who actually just...
I didn't know he was from Chicago till he died.
See, I did. I reached out to him for this show. Wow. Yes, he's already passed, and it's crazy, young kid. Yeah. But I was always wondering, because he was in Chicago when it happened. He was at Midway.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking to myself, are these guys living in the city? So that's interesting that you brought that up, because I'm like, are people bouncing back, or are people actually just staying?
I'm not sure if he was living there. And I feel like he wasn't, but I don't know. I know that, like, part of what happened is that he was flying in, and this pilot snitched that they had a bunch of shit on the plane that they weren't supposed to have. So when they landed, they went, like, immediately into, like, an FBI search. And, you know, shit happened from there.
I knew R. Kelly used to, who lived in Chicago, I think almost exclusively.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I didn't know. So, but like you, I felt the same way that most people had to leave. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that you haven't met Common. You should. I'm sure it'd be cool if you get to meet him and actually, you know, run lines and just be like, "Hey, where'd you grow up? Where'd you hang out? What was your like?" That's interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I'm sure I will. I've like known writers who have been interviewing him and like told him about me. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah. It's getting around that.
Yeah, like. So I think he has some modicum of awareness of me, and maybe when we do meet, it won't be just like a straight cold introduction. Right. You know what I mean?
Hello.
But I can take him back to when he walked into the store I worked in '96. You know what
store
I mean?
were you working in?
This place called the Walking Company. It was like this high end,
Isn't
like
that
supportive shoe store.
It still exists.
Yeah, but this was on the 7th floor of Water Tower. It was my first job, my first like real job. Yeah.
This is in high school? You were 16?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I was just curious I want to hop into LA stuff too, because I'm just curious, because how we crossed paths, I knew of you on the Fringe, and then obviously did more research. But when you were in Chicago, prior to Carbondale and stuff like that, you had the whole jobs there too. So you worked at Water Tower. Did you have any other fun stuff?
I worked at my mom worked on this used car lot for a while, and I worked there for a while.
On the south side or on
the south side, doing data entry. So this car lot was, they wanted to take all of their paper files and put them into a computer system, and I was like the kid who knew how to use a computer.
Yeah, of course.
So that was every day, just putting these files into this computer, and what I remember of that job is it just like when I was cleaning dorm rooms over that summer in Carbondale. It's like it was a great opportunity to just sit and zone out and listen to music, you know.
Oh, that's cool.
And like those experiences have always been so formative for me and so like energizing for my creativity.
Sure.
You know, you just get to paint pictures in your mind. And
see, I feel like social media has killed a lot of that. I'll be honest. I feel it all the time now because it's that idea of being bored or that like little empty space where like, what do you do? I used to do the same thing. Discman, Walkman, you put on your headphones and you're just kind of doing whatever you're doing. You can just be sitting on a park bench and enjoying that moment. It's hard. I feel like it's harder these days.
That's true.
That's
true. I have to agree with that.
Do you feel like creatively you have to separate a little bit?
I do have to be more intentional about making space, but I don't try to do it in a way where I'm like, I'm going to put my phone in the other room. And you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I think that like
please use that voice more often.
I'm so bang the table. But I think that you know the way my creativity works is like I'm working, I'm concentrating on something, trying to figure out the best way to say a thing, trying to figure out a hook, trying to figure out whatever, right? And I'm doing it and I'm focusing and I'm like, okay, quick break. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Scroll. Okay, back to what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like,
right. You have to find a way to kind of shift gears.
Yeah, and I think that that's part of it for me is like the concentration and then the break. The concentration and then the break. Because if I try to just straight concentrate for too long, then I end up like, I don't even feel like doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So creatively, you know, I know you I've heard you sing about or rap about Chicago, at least a line or two. Did you ever write any specific one or song that's dedicated to the city kind of thing?
I mean, you know, my whole last album is about the Robert Taylor homes on the South Side. I didn't grow up in them, but my close, like my first cousins,
it's
my
in the
aunts,
area,
like they were half a mile away, so we were in there all the time. I used to spend summers like in these project buildings, and those experiences were very formative for me, and it really like emotionally impacted me when they were destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah, but I remember that.
Yeah.
And I remember I remember having like, you know, obviously there's this mixed feeling where it's like, well, there's change and it's also like, but it's almost like trying to erase a history.
Oh, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing there still to this day. Like,
Right.
that's the part I'm like, holy shit. So it's literally just about erasure.
And it's right,
It's
exactly.
It's not about like beautifying. Like there's empty ass fields.
Right.
It's ugly as shit.
It's just basically like eradicate. And it was weird even for like a kid from the north side, white kid from the north side. I was like, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
Do you ever go back to Chicago?
Yeah. I mean, with shows and stuff,
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
there like a few times a year.
That's
I'll
great.
Be back this January.
See family, friends?
Yeah, see friends more than family. My family mostly lives in Gary, Indiana now, and I kind of refuse to go there most of the time. It's a terrible fucking place.
I fucking hate Gary.
Yeah, it's really trash.
There's some weird spots in Indiana.
Ugh, the whole thing's a weird spot. It's bad.
I got stuck there one time. It was crack. I don't know, long story, but anyway, yes, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you move out to LA, and you start realizing that music's what you want to do. Is there a point where you start realizing like I can actually do this? Like right now, in all honesty, are you doing music and the TV stuff full time?
Yeah.
So how did it convert? This is what I'm always
Hey, well, you know what? I did figure out what the key was for me, and I try to give this key to everybody. And like this is the hardest thing, but it's like what was very necessary for me, because like I can't do anything if I don't understand how it works.
Sure. You have to know the mechanics.
I have to know how the fucking machine works.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came out here, there's this hip hop collective called Project Blow that I embedded myself in. And the reason I was aware of it is because there's artists in it It's got AC Alone, it's got Abstract Rude, a group called Freestyle Fellowship, a guy called Bus Driver. Like, these are guys who had national careers. Like, I'd be in Chicago listening to underground rap and hearing music from these guys, but it's one of the unique things where this was not only a collective, it was an actual place. So you could come to LA and go to this place and see and be around these people. And
Were there shows, or it was just like
it was an open mic that was every week.
I see.
And the thing about the Project Blowed, it was like a rap dojo. Like, it was just like the thing I used to go to in Chicago at the Point. Like, you would go and you would cipher and it'd be like rap class. Like, we'd all just be trading and, and it was people who had careers, but at the end of the day, they took rap that seriously, where they always came back to the dojo. And I hung around them enough, became embedded. And the thing is, like, I can actually rap, like, because from my freestyle, like, upbringing, I can rhyme, I can hang, like, I can, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not from there, but, like, the
ability was there.
My ability was undeniable.
Sure.
So then I started to get respected. And then me being one of the few people around there who's like, I love this. I've also completely finished a college education.
Which is probably different than some.
Yeah. So I'm bringing this whole different organizational skill set to
that's awesome.
To this environment. So they have an office because they're also a record label.
Oh.
So I'm able to go sit in this office every day. I'm kind of intern because I'll just do whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
so did you have to hold a job at this point?
Yeah. I was out here working. Like, when I came out here to do this, because this is all in that first year.
Yeah.
When I came out here, and it was only supposed to be that year.
Sure.
I was doing AmeriCorps at the time.
Oh, okay.
Which is fucking stupid and awful. Like, fucking legal slavery.
Yeah, but you do what you have to do.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like, okay, it's a program. I get money. Okay, cool. And then I ended up, not finishing, but like getting jobs. And like, so I'm out here working, but one thing that was fortunate, I worked in a school for a long time that was in Leimert Park, which was half a mile away from where the Project Blowed was, where the office was, where everything was. So every day on my lunch break, I'd go over there. Every day after I got off work, I'd go over there. I just spent a lot of time soaking up game, and I learned how those guys who I listened to in Chicago, I learned how their careers worked. I was basically like an apprentice to a lot of them. Like, I had the opportunity to, when they went on tour, if I wanted to drive my own car and follow them around on tour and go show to show, and I could get on stage and do a little bit, they would let me do merch, which I loved doing fucking merch.
Well, you get to meet the people. You get to kind of like, you were like embedded in it.
And you get to have this experience of like, there are people lining up
and they're excited as shit to see you because they want to buy stuff
exactly. Too. And they're lining up excited to give their money
right.
for underground rap music. And I'm there to facilitate that, and it's the most amazing feeling.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I'm putting together how they print up CDs. I'm putting together how they distribute CDs. I'm putting together how they book shows. Are
these underground rappers, were they actually making a living just doing that? Because I was going to say, I don't know how. Like,
now it's really bad now.
It's hard.
Yeah,
I mean,
really bad.
Music industry is in a weird spot in general. But
yeah, I mean, but most media is, because everything is digital.
And it's very saturated too, which is also a little tough. But so you're doing all this with with this group essentially in this record label. When you're doing, and you were saying you can go on tours, stuff like that as well. So were people saying like why don't you kind of come on the other side of things, not on the business side? Like, where did that switch happen?
Well, I think when I was invited into the office in the first place, because I was an artist. Like, I was, I came with, some recordings like that I had, and like I was in a little group at the time. We were recording, like, so we were doing the artist thing. Mm-hmm. They opened the doors to the business side to me, and that's how I saw how they were able as individuals, and with some measure of management and collected energy, they were able to make careers. And like I saw, like step 1, step 2, step 3, like, so what I always try to tell people is like, if you want to make money at something, you need to go find out who's making money doing that thing already, and you need to figure out how it's happening. Like, and what I find is that for most people, it's not like it's not going to be like a top secret thing. You know what I mean? Like they're
They'll
gonna
tell you.
they're gonna tell you. They're
Yeah.
gonna tell you what they do. They're gonna tell you what their process is. They're gonna tell you how they get and farm the supplies to make their products and how they bring their products to market and how they market the products. Like they'll put you on. They'll put you on.
So when did things start really escalating?
I got signed to an independent record label, like really one of the LA kind of classic underground institutions. They signed me in 2009. And it was because one of those guys that was mentoring me walked, because I made an album. I made it completely on my own in my house. I made an album, right?
You recording kind of like this, little mic.
Exactly.
setting that up.
You know, like just whatever pieces I needed to put a studio together in my house.
Yeah.
Made a product, brought it to these guys that were mentoring me, and showed one. And one of them was like, "Okay, I'm gonna walk this into this label and have them listen to it." Because the thing that they realized too is that it helps them to have context. It helps them to have other people around them who are popping. Like if there's this energy of there being like a movement happening, it's helpful for everybody. Like
Sure,
the rising
everybody comes
tide.
together.
Thing.
Sure,
exactly. So he got me signed. And then once I'm signed, that means there is a record label invested in making me a success as an artist, making Open Mike Eagle a thing that means something to people. So they're, so then I have a product that they're trying to market.
Sure.
So they're, doing PR.
Sure.
They're getting interviews from me. They're trying to help me get shows and book. So that's when everything really kind of starts, is once this label is investing its resources in me.
Gotcha. And then how many albums do you cut with them?
I did one solo album with them and one group album with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, because right now you're in TV too. By the way, we haven't gotten into wrestling. I have no idea. You have this weird life.
Yeah.
I feel like you're doing so much crap. It's ridiculous.
It is. It's very ridiculous.
But I just want to know the steps. Because again, I think a lot of people who are going to watch and listen to this are probably like, so we made that like little jump, and then all of a sudden, usually something a little bit bigger happened.
This is the thing with me, and I had to come to terms with this a long time ago.
You're going to grind too.
There's no such thing as a game changer in my life. And I really I learned that lesson early on, and I forget it sometimes. I get lulled into thinking this next thing to happen. This is going to be the thing. That's not the way my career works. The way my career works is everything is just an added drop in the bucket.
There you go.
Now I look back at this point, I've been doing this for 10 years, and so the bucket it's got a sizable amount of liquid in it. But I'm not, at least up until this point, I'm not the kind of act that the bucket tips over.
Sure. No, I understand.
Like everything is just it's
just a build. Everything's
adding on. Yeah.
But that's great. I mean, honestly, I've always said if you can keep it steady and it's not like this crazy leap. I mean, that's where
maybe I need to go to the Lakers game in my underwear. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what tips the bucket over.
You should just go with Lizzo.
Yeah.
And you will be on the Jumbotron. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So you're making albums. Obviously, again, I just listen on Spotify. I just listen to a ton of music. That's how I kind of more discovered you. So now that you got into TV now, was this your first venture?
My first thing that I was attached to, like as my thing.
Yeah.
Like I've been on, I was on Hannibal's old show before. I've been on a couple of things on Viceland before.
I want to talk about how the other Chicago connections, because you come out here, you're kind of doing your own thing. You've met a lot of people here, but are you connected? Hannibal is a Chicago guy.
Yeah.
Does he still live in the city?
No, he lives in LA now.
He lives in LA now.
He
was there for a while.
He was. I think he just moved this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys knew each other from out here?
Carbondale. We went to college together.
Very cool.
I was actually his RA one year.
Really?
The year he started comedy.
That's pretty funny. So did he know that you had a funny bone kind of thing when you were rapping?
Well, he knew that I had an interest in comedy. Because, like I said, when he first started comedy, like, me and him used to talk about comedy. Like, I'm who showed him Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Like, because he brought me a tape of him doing stand-up for the first time. I'm like, damn, you're kind of remind me of this dude a little bit, and I played him Mitch Hedberg, and the next thing you know, he's doing shows with Mitch Hedberg. You know what I mean? Like,
that's funny.
But
yeah, for people who don't know who Mitch Hedberg is, he passed away, but he was like the best like one-liner comedian out there.
He was so fucking amazing.
He's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But so you met him in college.
Yeah.
And Hannibal, you guys still chat up? Do you guys still help each other with each other's
careers? I was hanging out with him last weekend. Yeah, he did a festival in a small town in Mississippi this weekend. I was on it.
But you never wanted to did you think like stand up, or like what is your favorite kind of outlet right now? Is it still, it's music. It's always going to be music, it seems.
Yeah, music is my thing. Everything else is a thing that supports that thing. You know, and any TV I do, I want it to point back to music.
Well, it's funny because your show is literally like a mixture of everything.
Right.
But again, I feel like you get the humor in the bits that you do in the music video, which is always great.
Exactly.
Which again reminds me, it has a lot of. Chappelle's still probably my favorite comedian, and him being able to mix all that is just genius.
Yeah, we're definitely following in the footsteps of that. You know.
Do you keep in touch with any other Chicagoans that you ever talk about? You know, coming from Chicago to get out here.
Ooh, I feel like the answer to that is yes, but nobody's coming to mind right now. I just feel like a lot of the like the young black comics that I pal around with here in LA are from Chicago. It's like Will Miles, Langston Kerman. Man, it's just like a little, like a little clique of people, and a clique is the wrong word.
No, I understand
because they all get down with everybody out here.
Sure.
You know, I like them Chicago boys.
Yeah. I always tell people when I meet people from Chicago, it's like a lot of unspoken understanding.
Yeah.
Even if you're from the south side, I'm from the north side, it's still kind of like, yes, you worked at the water tower place. I had to work downtown at one point. Like everyone kind of understands that game. Right now, you have your show, but you're a wrestler. Explain what that is, because I see stuff on social media all the time, but I don't know. And you have like action figures yourself. What is this? You had like a documentary?
I wrestled a match last year. I wrestled a pro wrestling match last year, and I had filmmaker Lance Bangs kind of follow me through how that worked out and the match and everything.
Is this on, like, where do people find this?
Well, right now it's all on my Patreon.
Okay.
It's patreon.com/openmikeagle. So we did a 6-part documentary series about how that whole thing unfolded from the internet all the way to like a real wrestling match in Louisville, Kentucky, last October.
Because didn't you consult real wrestlers?
Yeah, Mick Foley, Jim Cornette, Tommy Dreamer, Billy Gunn, X-Pac. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you ever think, like, as a kid, you're like,
yes, absolutely. I wanted to be a wrestler more than anything when I was a young person. That's all I wanted out of life.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that was my deepest, darkest fantasy was to be a wrestler. I was watching wrestling,
like Macho Man days.
Yeah, like in like WCW, NWA, all of that. Like,
yeah.
I just love wrestling.
You still love it?
Oh yeah.
You still watch it?
Yeah. I don't watch WWE anymore, but there's other stuff to watch now. So
what is there?
All Elite Wrestling is the national company. They have a weekly television show on TNT. It's great. That's fantastic.
That's cool. Do you guys you ever get in touch? You want to actually like give it a go?
No, I'm far too old. I would only hurt myself. I got hurt doing the one match. I got hurt training.
Oh man.
For the one match.
But you wanted to do it, and you did it.
Yeah.
At least you can knock it off the bucket list.
I marvel at having been able to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You have a kid now, right? Mm-hmm. You have one?
Yeah, he's 11.
Do you ever say like, "Hey, go for it. This is how you go about doing it"?
Well, he's way too confident already.
He's far too confident. He doesn't even listen to his pops.
He already thinks he's the best at everything. So I spend most of my time trying to like humble him and like show him that there's actual steps that need to be taken for things.
When you went to wrestle, was he like, "Dad, this is ridiculous"?
He had no concept of it at the time.
Oh.
He didn't know what wrestling was. Now he does, but at the time he didn't.
But it wasn't that long ago.
But we didn't allow him to watch it for a while.
I see.
So now he is allowed, but he still, I don't think he still understands that I did that.
Huh.
I have to show him that footage again.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun little Friday night, whatever.
Yep.
So what what's the plan now? What do you want to do?
I want to keep making money from TV because it's a lot better than money from music.
Well, nowadays for sure.
Yeah, and I want to keep making music.
Are they? You have how many seasons so far of
just the one.
So is there going to be another? What's the
We
plan?
don't know.
Gotcha.
We don't know. We made a product we're really proud of. So, like, any opportunity we'd have to continue to do it, we'd love to.
Dude, thank you very much for coming on to
Of
this
course,
thing.
man.
And,
Thanks for having me, dude.
Please let everybody in the world know. You can look right in there and just be like, where to find you, what to look for.
I mean, I'm always on Twitter. I'm never hiding it anyway, but I'm always on Twitter. And I'm at Mike_Eagle, and I tell you about everything going on with me there. All the stuff's going on my Patreon, which is a lot. I put a lot of stuff on my Patreon. And I let people know where shows are and when music's happening and all of that. So if you're interested in following along with me, twitter.com/Mike_Eagle.
And check out his Patreon for all of his fun wrestling things. But again, and check out, I'm going to say the name one more time, as awkward as it is.
Do it.
The New Negroes.
Oh, I hadn't heard that delivery. That is a new one.
No, but check it out. This is actually an amazing show if you hadn't heard of it prior. And good luck, Mike, for everything. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
I appreciate it.
You.
Thank you very much.
For sure.